No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not Superman, but what's there to be scared of?
Exactly,
You know,
exactly.
You have nothing to fear but fear itself.
That's right, yeah. So, tell me about how you started to wake up. Like, was it an event? Like, when did you start to wake up?
Well, not anybody else, I suppose, 9/11 really. But prior to that, I was in a lot of trouble at school. I never liked school. You'd never hear me say, best days of your life, or,
Yeah.
do you know, I wish you was back at school.
Yeah.
I absolutely hated it.
That's the one reason why I won't kill myself, because I don't want to go back through school.
Yeah, and I didn't read this till much later, but apparently children who are disruptive, sort of branded troublemakers and never do well.
Yeah, they drug them these days.
Well, they do drug them these days, yeah. This is back in the day before they did that. I mean, I got caned a few times, but
right.
even that didn't bother me. Yeah. And what they did, they got a child psychologist in, which at the time, I believe it's quite common now. I mean, they probably have one on site these days.
But it probably was rare back then.
Back then, it was a big stigma kind of.
You must have been naughty, were you?
I was, yeah. Because like, I had no interest.
Back chat, like with the teachers?
Yeah.
I bet you were class clown.
Yeah, I've been a clown since. Yeah, I say it was unheard of to have child psychologists back coming to school then, but I used to have to see one every Tuesday afternoon, and it was a big. It wasn't a status symbol, you know. It was an embarrassment,
yeah.
You know. I'm sort of crazy in there.
Yeah, especially for a kid.
Exactly, you know, and they gave me all the tests and found out that I was of average intelligence. That's not brag, that's just a fact.
And that's obviously also part of the reason why you were...
I was just bored. I had no interest, and I've read since a few years back that children like me who had the classic signs, you know, that like I was at school.
Yeah, naughty or whatever.
Naughty, not, you know, just bunking off or...
Yeah. Too smart for school, basically.
Too cool for school.
Yeah.
It's a sign that we are more open-minded, if you like, you know, and more... we can accept things easier. And children who are like me are more... I don't like the word awake, but for want of a better word, you know, we are the ones who are awake.
Critical thinkers, maybe, not just being told.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been suspicious of people who are acting in my best interest. Yeah. You know, I'd never believe it.
The authorities,
exactly.
The cops, the teachers.
And that showed through my work. I mean, I worked on the oil refinery for a while when I was very young, and then I worked with the Irish Navies for doing groundwork and whatnot. And from there I started my own building business, you know, which went very well, purely because I didn't like people telling me what to do.
Yeah.
You know, I've never liked people telling me what to do. I still don't like people telling me what to do. You know?
Yeah.
I don't like telling people what to do.
Yeah, either.
But I don't like, I say on the same token, I don't need to be, I'm an adult.
Yeah.
I know.
And even when you're a kid, you know, it's hard to be told what to do by someone because you've got your own urges and your own...
Of course, but I say, it's a long time ago, but just naughty, you know.
So you felt like you thought differently from a young age, like way before 9/11?
I always, you know, things, even before I knew what was going on, I knew that things weren't right, you know.
Yeah.
You hear things on the telly or whatever, and you think, well, that's not right. That can't be right. How can that be right?
Yeah.
Do you know? But whereas everyone else around me was going...
Just swallowing it, yeah.
Exactly, do you know? And even now, I mean, my parents, I can't... It'd be nice to say, oh yeah, I come from nothing, yeah. But that wouldn't be true, that would be a lie. I came from a very, very middle class family. My dad's an accountant.
Yeah, right.
Was an accountant, still alive, but retired now. And they was very conservative, you know.
Yeah.
So they wanted me to be a banker, funny enough.
Yeah.
Well, there's only one letter out, so I don't know what their trouble was. They're just very, very conservative. And
people don't like to rock the boat.
no, very set in their way. I mean, when you think about that generation, just post-war, when they were sort of growing up and whatnot, and they was limited in what they could do, and it was across the board that, this was how you behaved.
Yeah.
That's when women still did cookery at school,
Yeah.
while boys went and did woodwork.
Yeah, exactly.
Preparing you for your role in life.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with a woman looking after a family. I mean, I did it myself with Stacey. It's a hard work.
And it's a job. It's
a full-time job in itself.
Yeah.
And this is what I say now about when women are having to go out to work just to survive. Within the family, two wages. Whereas 30 or 40 years ago, it was unheard of.
Yeah.
Most women stayed at home, looked after the children. The man went out to work just at one wage, and even the poorest people could sort of afford a little holiday. A couple of weeks a year away, and survive quite nicely. Now hardly anyone can survive on one wage.
Yeah, and it's like, who does all that stuff? The house cleaning, the cooking.
Exactly. So you come in, you're knackered. I mean, Stacey had a bash here today, but the last thing you want to do is sort of sit down or not sit down, or clean up. When you want to sit down and read the paper.
Well, once your work is done, you just want to rest.
Exactly,
yeah.
but people are having to come home stressed, and they say they're only just getting by on what they've got anyway.
Yeah,
or
even not.
Or even not getting by.
Yeah.
And with the best will in the world, you've got 3 or 4 kids there, and they're asking you questions. You just want to go away. And this is how the family is breaking down, and it's all done purposely, to sort of break the family down.
Have you heard that the Rockefellers or the Rothschilds decided to tax the whole population instead of half the population? They invented feminism, and they reckon that it was like a man's invention. And it wasn't that long ago, and it was all about women going, woo woo, we're free to work, we can do whatever we want.
Only just in the First World War did we started paying income tax.
I know, it's 1917 or something.
And even that was meant to be just for the war.
Yeah, the war tax.
Like anything else,
And you got to think, how did society build all these amazing buildings and churches and railway lines and everything before tax?
Well, through trade and whatnot. This is what I say, that there is no reason for us to be paying income tax.
Absolutely.
Apart from the national debt.
And the interest on the money owned by the private families that lend it to the government.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be. This is the easiest way to demonstrate how politicians aren't working for you.
Yeah.
Because if they was working for us, they would print their own money, interest free.
Yeah, or it's 1% interest rather than 20.
But they don't.
Yeah, I know.
And you've got to say, well, why don't you?
Yeah.
And because there's interest lent on new money, which is introduced through debt anyway, you can never pay the national debt off.
Yeah.
So what these austerity measures are about now, we can't afford the interest on the national debt, not the national debt itself.
Yeah.
Because, the national debt's a fraudulent debt anyway, but if it was just about reducing the national debt, like Cameron would have you believe, we could do it over more years.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
But we don't. It's got to be, these hard measures have been brought in and that. And the reason why is because we can't afford the interest on the national debt. As long as you're paying the interest on the national debt, we're okay.
Yeah.
As soon as you default on that, that's when your economy collapses,
Yeah.
Like has happened in Greece. Well, Greece are all right because they've got the bailouts from the other European countries. But what happens when there's no bailout and the economy collapses, which is going to happen eventually, unless World War III starts first.
Yeah.
Which one's going to come first? And when that happens, people are going to die of starvation. And people who are driving around now in their Mercedes and thinking, I'm doing all right, I've got fucked up all right.
Yeah.
Do you know? They're
going to suffer too.
They're suddenly going to find that their Mercedes ain't worth a wank.
Yeah, exactly.
But trying to get this through to them is impossible.
Everybody's just so worried about keeping their own circumstances.
Well, it's not. I mean,
stepping on someone else's head to get their own head.
I think it's more selfish. We've been raised to be selfish. Now I just sit like 12, 13, 14, 15 hours a day. Just sit there and
read and write.
Read and write.
Yeah.
And
you must do so much research. There's hours of reading in your articles.
Well,
so I figure everything that takes me 4 hours to read must take you 30, 40
They can
hours.
take months to write. Months to write. I mean, I've got a major article on the go about Princess Diana, and I've had it for over a year. I'm up to 50,000 words,
wow.
And I'm not even halfway through.
Wow!
I just don't have time to work on it because the website has to be updated. Current, which is a full day's work in itself. Do you know? Well, I don't trust anyone to put content on there. You only need a bit of content that's not accurate.
Yes.
And people pounce on you, and so I don't trust anyone to do that. I have Dogman helping me, who answers the comments, and it's going to be running the forum, who I do trust, and know exactly what's going on in the world.
Because I was going to ask you about that, like, you get one piece of misinformation fed to you from a source that may or may not be deliberate, and then if it's blown up, then they'll make everything you say look stupid. But of course, you've got to just be able to go, you know what? Last week I said this. I was wrong. Who cares? Moving on. Now I'm saying this, and you can be steered in a wrong direction anyway.
No, it doesn't happen because everything that goes on there, I've checked personally anyway. But if I'm not sure about something, I will make that clear.
Yeah.
In what I write about it, this article and sounds plausible or whatever.
Yeah.
But I cannot vouch for it.
But I can see that it might be true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that doesn't happen, and I do. The bigger I've got, unless you wouldn't be here if I was nobody. Do you know? I don't like to say.
I'm nobody too, but
I don't. No, but I don't know. I say if I wasn't somebody, you wouldn't be here. So let's make no bones about it. I'm a big name in the alternative media, and that makes me a target. But what they tend to target me for is the way I look, and my aggressive writing, I suppose you'd call it. And they pick on that tattooed thug with Rottweilers. Yeah. Well, before we started filming, when we talked about the dogs, I explained how the Rottweilers came about.
Yeah.
And
who cares if you are aggressive with Rottweilers anyway? You have a right to be any way you want. It's not like you're actually going out there and hurting people.
I worked on the oil refineries.
You're not drone bombing kids in Pakistan for a job. You're not molesting kids in a rich private school. Or you know what I mean.
I worked on the oil refineries, there was all travelling men, all hard men, and then I worked with the Irish navvies. Once again, big drinkers. Big hard men, and then I had my own building firm, and I was paying people from there downwards mostly, because I was doing the thing, who, you got to be able to talk to someone who's 6'4", and you've just upset and wants to take your head off. You know.
Yeah.
And I did grow up in while working with aggressive people and hard people, and I don't tolerate fools gladly.
Yeah.
Do you know? But that doesn't mean that just because I'm outspoken and can come across maybe as aggressive doesn't mean I'm not capable of caring and having empathy with people.
I actually think that's one of the reasons why I'm here, because you are expressing anger or...
I am angry.
But for everyone. You're expressing it for me when you write those articles. You're expressing it for thousands and thousands of other people who check your site every day because they want to know how somebody... It's interesting to watch somebody express it, Yeah. It's good.
I am angry.
You should be. We all should be.
We all should, exactly. Yeah. We all should be, and we all need to get angry enough to say, well, that's it, no more.
Yeah, no more.
No more.
Yeah.
But
there can be no legitimate ruling class with a monopoly on weapons to look after the rest of us. And calling it looking after, I mean abusing us to do what they want.
No, and then I think the ultimate aim is to get rid of most of us, and those that are left be nothing more than, you know,
minions,
mind-controlled robots. That have already been all dumbed down by various ways and means, because now they don't need us to think anymore, you know, and they don't want us to be able to think anymore.
And I think that something's happening to us as one being, that we all are, when you think our minds are outside our minds as well as inside our heads. And they're aware that we're waking up. Something's happening to the human race.
I don't think, are people waking up, or is it just trendy? I've been right about this, like, I think it's trendy to say that you're awake.
No, it's definitely people waking up. You think about pre-9/11, the only thing people were awakening to was like JFK, and that had happened 30, 40 years
that's only because of the information out there. Just knowing the information doesn't make you awake.
But that means
you're just clued up.
Yeah, but the internet is changing people. Like, my whole life has become about this now. So I think if it's happening to me, it must be happening to others.
Of course it's happening to I think, but like I was, you know, they don't know that they're the way they are, because they are awake, although they haven't realised it yet. But I think it's trendy to say you're awake, and just knowing that 9/11 was a false flag, and knowing that money is worthless and introduced by debt doesn't make you awake. It just makes you knowledgeable. And I think this is what's happening, because people are confusing being clued up with being awake. But it is a completely different thing, because when you're really awake, your whole perception on everything changes, everything. And this is what I say to you. You know, I care about people. I care about my family, and I care about people, and I can empathise with people. And even if something doesn't affect me, like bedroom tax or even the price of beer, I don't think. You know, I will get there.
You still notice it.
I will get involved in it, and because it's all part of the master plan. Exactly. So they've done this big thing in the mail today about Prince Charles, and there's also an article on there about James Hewitt.
They do know.
Now, the two articles are unconnected.
Yeah, of course they are.
But to me, the article about Hewitt isn't newsworthy. It's saying about him living with his mother down in Devon or wherever it is. No reason for them to. I mean, even it'd be more at home in a magazine, a woman's magazine or something. And even then, I don't think James Hewitt is
on the radar anymore.
Exactly. Do you know? So they've got this big thing, this big long article on Charles, and then this other article on James Hewitt, which isn't a news item, and you think, well, that's a dig.
Yeah,
do you know,
isn't it?
That is a dig, you know. That's just a little kick up the arse, because they're not allowed to say
outwardly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like the way in your articles you talk about the fact that they often do give hints about things the way they might really be, but they don't admit that they're doing that, but they might put something in and give you some information without giving you the information, if you know what to look for.
Exactly. And I say this, when you mentioned the Mirror and the Woolwich thing, with the Mirror, it was more because I tend to source from the Daily Mail. They're my whipping boys. But the Mirror released the video. Now, to me, someone like me, that is the worst thing they can do, because I don't look at what's going on in front, I look at what's going on behind. And from there, using photographs as well from others, you can sort of put together movements, and that's when you realise that things aren't what you're meant to be watching. And I say, for someone like me who's got a keen eye and a quick mind, that's the worst thing they can do.
So for me, after 9/11, I was already aware of what a false flag was at that stage, whereas that was the first time most of my friends had heard of the concept of a false flag event, like perpetrated by one group pretending it's another group. There was a mass murder in Australia, 55 people shot in one day, blamed on one guy. And I was investigating that in the late 90s, and I was speaking to a retired cop, and he told me, oh, this is a false flag event, it's to change politics, it's to buy guns back. Yeah. So how long after the 7/7 London bombings did it take you to realise this isn't adding up?
Well, 9/11 was the first one for me.
Yeah.
And that's where I started researching. So by the time 7/7 came along, I already
you knew.
I knew anyway, long before that. But
and you start to just sense the fakeness.
Exactly.
Like the Boston bombing, that photo with the 3 cops, on the road in front of the jogger falling over. I just looked at that and I was like, there's something so suspicious.
Well, they didn't look like policemen, did they?
They didn't. They looked like dancers from the bloody YMCA.
They are, because that's what they are.
They're models and actors.
They're extras, They had ill-fitting uniforms.
Yeah.
The uniforms looked like they'd just come out the packet.
Yeah.
And they didn't look credible.
Yeah.
So you can tell an awful lot by a photograph anyway.
You can.
And then you've only got to go, give it a quick read, and straight away, once you've been doing it a while, you just know that you're reading bollocks.
Yeah.
And I mean things like the Woolwich, the Woolwich beheading. Straight away, the fact that Cameron was cutting short his business trip.
Yes.
Rung bells for me straight away.
And they're having the meeting.
The Cobra, no one's ever heard of Cobra.
Yeah, but on the day they say it on the news like there's a Cobra meeting, and everybody's like, oh, thank God we're having a Cobra meeting.
Exactly. And I say, then the Queen.
And the guy wasn't beheaded anyway.
He wasn't.
I'm like, if you're going to put a news report, even on the radio, saying someone was beheaded,
you want accuracy.
You want the head off the body. You don't want somebody who's been sliced out with a knife around the neck.
Well, it happened on the 22nd, and by the 23rd, I knew beyond all doubt that he hadn't been beheaded.
Right.
Okay. So if I knew that beyond all doubt, the mainstream media knew that. Yet the Daily Mail was still printing articles that he'd been beheaded on the 24th. Now that's breaking press regulations anyway.
Yes, lying.
Because it was.
For dramatic effect, do you reckon, or just?
It was done. No, it was done for, for a specific reason, which was to
incite hatred.
Incite racial hatred, which once again carries a prison sentence now.
Yeah.
I did have plans to see what I could do about this, but they fell through because I was careless. Still not out of the question, I say, because the press regulations state that you have to report as accurately as possible. So if I knew on the 23rd that Lee Rigby wasn't beheaded, the Daily Mail must have known at the same time.
And those guys have their finger on the pulse.
Exactly, So the only reason that they could be reporting him as being beheaded on the 24th was to stir trouble up.
Yeah.
No other reason. So, and they should have had, they should have been in court really for inciting racial hatred. I mean, if I did what they did, I would be in court.
Yeah.
Straight away. But they're not, because they're all politically controlled,
Yeah.
They print what they're told to print. They don't make it up, and this is why they're never in court. And that's got to stop. I mean, if they're printing lies, which I've caught them many times printing lies, and they're so easy to...
Thank God there's 1 or 2 voices out there calling on it. I mean, there's more than 1 or 2 now, but 30 years ago, I don't think people were as aware.
They wasn't, but 30 years ago, things wasn't as bad, was they?
Well, the freedom wasn't as...
You still had sort of half-truths in the MSN, yeah, and you had the reporters, probably going a bit back from 30 years ago, 50 years ago, you know, who were in their raincoat and their hat with a press card in and wanting to get to the bottom of it, you know, and asking questions. Now they don't even leave the office, it comes up on the screen and tells you what to write.
The journalists are probably actors too. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, they're not journalists. They're not what I call journalists. Anyone can copyright.
Presstitutes.
They're presstitutes, exactly. Yeah. And that is all that they're doing. You know, there's no investigation. In fact,
there's no critical thinking. That's what pisses me off.
Of course not.
Yeah.
I mean, the papers are all aware of me anyway. Once again, not ego, just fact. And the Daily Mail did actually turn around to someone who'd rung up about one of my stories, and they said, "Oh, him, he's got it in for us." Which is true. I have.
Yeah.
I've got it in for all the mainstream media because they're accepting money under false pretences.
Yeah,
you
they're
know.
taking bribes to keep us on
they're making millions from the public and printing bollocks. You know, things that just aren't true. So that is taking money on false pretences for a start.
Yeah.
I do aim to expose the mainstream media, you know, and I have got it in for the Daily.
You have been.
I have, yeah, and I have got it in for the Daily Mail without a doubt. I've got it in for all of them.
Yeah.
I've got it in for anyone who is printing lies that are to the detriment of the human race, and. So they're not wrong when they think I've got it in for them, because fuck me, I have got it in for them, yeah.
So who have you shared it with over the years? Like Stacey, you must have done her head in over the years, telling her stuff.
I've had Stacey's a typical teenager, and
she's probably not that interested in most of it.
No, and also because it's just been me and her, and she never saw her mother. You know, you can count on one hand the times that she's seen her mother, and because I had to work as well, I probably spoiled her, and she had the large growth on her face as well, which sort of singled her out. So I was quite protective of her anyway. So maybe I did spoil her a little bit, but as you said, she's a typical teenager on the phone, like, you know, and she wants the latest phones, and she watches EastEnders, and she watches the X Factor.
But yeah, like I didn't even start to really wake up till I was 30, 35, so anyone who's awake under that age, I'm just always impressed.
There are quite a few.
Did you have mates that you shared it with? Like,
no, I don't. I've never had time. I mean, I've got friends, but I don't socialise because I never have time. I haven't had time for the past 18 years. You know,
it's not easy to find people who are clued up to talk to about a lot of this stuff. You've kind of got to feed all the information to them, and if they enjoy it and if it sinks into them, then you can have a conversation. But a lot of people are just like, oh, stop rocking the boat. This is a lot better here than China. So
and that's going to get us killed. That's going to be the downfall.
Get us all into a FEMA camp or whatever.
Exactly, and I'm going to be the first they come knocking on the door for, you know. And so I've got a bit of self-preservation invested in what I do as well.
Yeah.
But they're not just going to forget.
Have you had people over the years go, you know, you're absolutely mad, and tried to convince you that
I still get that on a daily basis. I mean, on my side, I can see where the traffic's coming from, and you know, if I have 150 or 600 people, or ever how many, coming from one place, you know, it will say. So I was thinking, well, you know, they don't normally read. Go on. Normally they're forums, and they'd be like the army forum or something.
Yeah, right.
Or you know, a mom's forum, or just something that's led by people who read the mainstream media, kind of forum, and then, you know, they're talking about these people should be locked up. You know, this man's a nutter. Yeah. And well, probably am.
Well, I always say I'm only as mad as the insanity that I've been bred on all my life, which is called reality, which is topsy-turvy world.
If I'm mad, I wish the rest of the world was mad as well.
Have you had anyone over the years who, you know, you pissed off, or you, you know, they called you a conspiracy theorist nut, and then they've changed over the years? Have you had anyone who's...
Yeah, look, yeah, of course, yeah, lots. I mean, very rarely I get deleted off Facebook, even though my Facebook was originally started for the tattoo work, you know, and obviously it's changed. I didn't really want it to change that way because I set up a page for my website as well.
Yeah.
But inevitably you get people who you know, buy into what I say, adding you as a friend, and over the years it's changed from being a tattoo website to
being a Chris
Spivey website. And most of the people who was on there, when it was just a tattoo website, are still on there.
Yeah.
No one on there sort of dismisses me as a crank or whatever, because
I think the numbers alone for your views show that people are waking up, even though you're like, oh, I don't know about that, Elissa, it's a bit depressing.
If you talk about
I actually think, because it took me years to even stumble across your site after you'd started writing, and then when I stumbled across it, then I've shared it with people, and then that's what happens, you know, people talk and they spread this stuff.
I was getting more bigger numbers when David Icke was printing. At one stage, I was probably on David Icke's wall more than any other apart from Press TV.
Yeah.
I say 3 or 4 articles of mine a week were going on David Icke's wall, and of course David has millions of people following him. So I was getting a lot more traffic than I was getting, about 40,000 a day or something like that. Now I'm getting about 20,000 a day, which is still...
So you're holding your own.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're right for 20,000 people a day, you only need to make a few mistakes and people think, oh, he's talking bollocks.
And, you know, like, I think the easiest way for somebody to target you is to misinform you with something.
It wouldn't happen. I say because I mean, I have all manner of stuff that I haven't published.
Yeah.
Because
you don't have the...
I can't prove it.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah. And it would be libelous if you can't if you say it and it could be wrong, then they can come and take whatever. You know.
And I had one big star, fairly big celebrity, threatened me actually. I won't say who it is.
Threaten you? Did you say?
Threatened me with libel action. Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah.
But it wasn't my article that was. I hadn't written the article. All I've done is republished someone's article who was a very good source of information, and he was standing by it, but he said he could only say it was 90%. The information came from the mainstream media, but he could only say it was 90% accurate. He couldn't give me 100%.
Yeah.
So because this fellow, this celebrity friend, to sue me, I took it down. Had it been my article, I wouldn't have taken it down.
Yeah.
Because I know that it would have been 100%.
Yeah.
And actually, I spoke to him, and he's fine. He's a nice fellow. I'm not going to say who he is, but we've had a few conversations. Yeah, and I actually do believe that he's telling me the truth.
Yeah.
You know, because if I didn't think he was, I wouldn't even be speaking to him.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I do think he's telling me the truth, but I won't say who it is.
Time comes and time changes and time opens everything up. That's what I reckon. Do you comply with the government or defy the government more?
I defy the government, most definitely. I don't. I have no respect for the government whatsoever.
Well, nor should any of us bow down to any of it.
They're meant to be there to represent us, and they're not doing the exact opposite.
Yeah, and we submit ourselves,
Exactly.
and then we complain when they up the road charges, the taxes, this, that, and it's like, well, you signed the piece of paper saying that you wanted a driver's license, so now you've got one, so therefore we can do all sorts of commercial fraud all over you. So that's good to hear. You know,
before I was even writing, you know, I was fighting my own private war with the government. Anyway, you know, I've never complied with anything that I didn't have to.
Well, they act like it's to assist us, and then you just realise every pain in the arse in your life is coming from there.
This is what I mean about awake, because once you're awake, you can see instinctively.
And you can't comply anymore. You just know I'm siding with the bully if I do everything they tell me to do. If I pay every fine they put on me for jaywalking, crossing the road, leaving my car here for too long. If I just go down to the post office and pay those fines, then I'm making it worse for my children and their children's children.
But people, in fact, pay out of fear, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
And
that's how we've been
they've
controlled.
got to stop
Being
this fear.
yeah.
Do you know, it's got to stop, because if it doesn't, we're going to be in a lot. We're in a lot of trouble now, but we are going to be in real trouble.
I always say you don't have to lose your fear; you just have to move through it.
You have nothing to fear but fear yourself.
Yeah.
That is such a true saying.
It is.
Do you know? And once you stop being scared, you don't go back to being scared.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I remember the first time I stopped paying the road tolls, just the toll in Australia, you know, to go to my friend's house and back. It cost me $24 in tolls, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, of course it is.
To drive across town. And when you're already paying for the petrol, which covers the road tax, and people go, well, who's going to build the roads? It's like, well, we are. But, you know, I've already paid for the roads with the petrol
money
tax.
comes in, do you know, from other sort. It doesn't come in from tax. I say income tax was only introduced in the war,
and,
the First World War.
I read Mary Elizabeth Croft's book. She says, she's researched it, and that 100% of income tax just pays the debt.
Exactly,
the
exactly, and people can't understand this.
On the debt.
They don't.
They think everybody's brainwashed to go, oh, that's paying for hospitals and schools and roads.
Exactly, and that's just bollocks.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, stop the money being privately owned. And then I remember seeing the Australian Prime Minister on TV saying, oh, we must keep the independence of the Reserve Bank. And I'm like, well, of course you're saying that, because your hands are tied up and they have their dick firmly up your ass. So how can you turn around and go, you know what, we're not going to have this independent bank. The government's going to print the money like we legally have the right to.
We should be paying no tax.
Yeah.
And so the only reason we pay tax is because of the fraudulent debt.
And you see how wealthy we could all be when you look at Libya.
This is what I said to you earlier. We could all have a better living.
Yeah.
Much better. We could all
have you read about Libya with Gadaffi?
Of course, he had the best infrastructure.
Yeah, interest-free loans. Kids coming out of school got a grant for 20 grand to start a business.
Exactly.
Houses were on really low interest. Yeah.
I mean, you go to Iraq now, and I bet they're welcome Saddam Hussein back. You know, they're living in the most violent country in the world.
Yeah,
now.
and
you know, and million. I read statistics somewhere. There's not a family in Iraq that hasn't lost one or had them severely maimed.
Yeah, or you depleted uranium.
Which the royal family and all these politicians all have massive investments in.
Yeah.
And this
Rio Tinto was started. Actually, I read that on your site last night.
Yeah.
Rio Tinto was started for the royal family to mine uranium.
£6 billion pound in portfolio the royal family have. And it's killing. It's not only killing. This is why babies in places like Iraq and whatnot are being born deformed.
Yeah.
But this is why this so-called Gulf
War syndrome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And why the soldiers are not. It's all to do with the depleted uranium. In the warheads, in the missiles.
Yeah, I saw a documentary which said, like, after the first Gulf War, which is the early 90s, somebody went and tested one of those old sites, like 15 years later, and the kids' playground equipment was like unsafe levels of uranium, cans of drink, leave it out on the bench for 10 minutes and there's unsafe levels of uranium.
It never died.
Yeah.
It stays as potent as what it is for probably longer than the Earth has been around. It never dies.
Yeah,
and this is
ridiculous.
what people got to understand. So every time a bomb goes off, it releases particles of this poisonous shit into the air. You know, that's going to be killing people from years to come. Now, what happened in this doctor told me what happened in Fukushima was that when the radiation levels went above what was considered safe, they couldn't evacuate. The whole of Japan should, in theory, be evacuated, become a wasteland because it is all contaminated. But what they did is just up the level of safety. Because they couldn't do anything different.
Yeah, and they can't tell the whole country to leave.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is how we're being lied to. And now Fukushima
is pumping gallons and gallons and gallons every day of contaminated water into the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, and it's already been, the effects have already been picked up in the western coast. Yeah, the western coast of America, California, and all that, in the tuna fish and whatnot that's been is coming up contaminated.
I've even heard the milk. Like the milk from the cows.
Exactly, because it's on
the land.
And this shit don't die. It don't get weaker and weaker. And you know, the more water you pour on it, doesn't mean it. You know.
I remember thinking, like, why would they use this? Like, I can understand they think, oh, Iraq's a long way away and we're just someone else's kids. But when you see the level of damage they're doing, you realise these people, like, we all hate ourselves and love ourselves, right? Well, every human has an element of self-loathing and an element of self-love. And I think when you actually do the research into a lot of the elite, they are really self-loathing. And that, when you look at the satanic circles and the way they treat their kids and the pedophilia in the schools, that's systematic.
People can't understand this. They don't understand that the elites do not think like us. They can't think like us. They don't see things in terms of people tend to put things in boxes.
Yeah.
You know, homosexuals, black, white.
Yeah.
Everything is compartmentalised. The elites don't see it like that. You know, they don't look in terms of, I mean, they can quite happily go and shag a man and be married and not be what you'd term as bisexual or homosexual.
Yeah, and not have any judgment on themselves or any guilt or any
you know, they don't think like us.
If they fucking kids or whatever.
All to a man or woman evil.
I think it's like when it's happened to you, then you grow up, and it's like, it's just natural to do it to the next generation.
Of course it is, and this is why, you know, they go to their private schools and they're just senseless by the older boys.
Yeah.
And it's encouraged.
It is, yeah, it's encouraged.
Because it's all part of the training, if you like.
Yeah, destroying the persons, weakening them.
Exactly, and you know, they are, without a doubt, all evil, and none of them are our friends, you know. And this is why I say, when you look at Russell Brand being a people's person, and then he's taking Jemima Khan out, who is, you know, all but a Rothschild.
Yeah.
The two don't go together. Do you know?
Well, I think he's got to be careful, because he's going to be used completely.
You can't have a foot
and if
in
he
both
isn't
camps.
already aware that he is being used, then
you can't have a foot in both camps. Yeah, you know, if you're genuine, you're there. You know, the two worlds do not mix.
Well, I must admit, I had my doubts about Julian Assange after I found out he was living in this Rothschild
and Jemima Khan, she put up his bail money.
Yeah, something like that.
So a lot of people who think they're right when they aren't would think, oh well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jemima Khan must be one of us, but no, it's not. Not when you know what's.
Well, I don't know. I like to think she's got her heart in the right place, but it's like severe ignorance. She obviously doesn't read your site. Put it that way.
I mean, just yesterday I put a little thing on about Jemima Khan, you know, and she's an elite. You know, she can say what the hell she wants, but she doesn't mean it. And I can tell you now, if Russell Brand was one of us, he would be allowed nowhere near Jemima Khan, let alone in her bed.
Absolutely. These things are very much encouraged, shaped from the outside.
So they plan years and years ahead.
Yeah, they are. They plan 100 years ahead,
I mean,
250, 300.
I've read very credible articles that Diane, Princess Diane, was earmarked for Charles.
Yes, from birth. And even named Diana, knowing that she would be killed, you know, in that place of
these people aren't opportunists.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
So if you know anything about the death of Princess Diana, where she died, the time, you know, the whole symbology
the pagan ritual site, and also that I can't remember what I was going to say. But that's absolutely fascinating. The first public outing she went to on her own after she'd been married was to Princess Grace's funeral. She was the one who died in the car crash.
And once again, if you know anything about Princess Grace's car crash, that wasn't
they
an accident.
They fixed the brakes,
Yeah, most definitely. But
so your Princess Diana article, which I can't wait for, 2016, it's coming. Have you got any information? Not that I need you to tell me on here, or I want you to, because I like surprises. But
I have got one surprise in there.
The SAS stuff. How's that? It's interesting, isn't it? It seems to me that the mainstream is supporting it so much that it might be a
when the mainstream media supports anything, but there is probably some kind of truth in it. I mean, I can't tell you exactly the names of the people who caused the accident.
Yeah.
But there is truth in it, and I think what's happened, this has got out, and they've launched a damage limitation exercise.
That's what it is, isn't it? It's like, tell them something, but we'll still keep...
Exactly. But she was definitely murdered.
Yeah.
Most definitely. On the orders of the royal family.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And I have something that I believe no one, I mean, I can't say that no one knows about it, because whoever perpetrated it obviously knew about it, you know. But something that's never been reported before.
Wow.
I have something in it.
Ooh, it's a reason to live.
But I say that finding the time is nigh on impossible. You know, I haven't worked on it for months.
I think all of these things are like part of the grand plan, and they'll come exactly when they're ready to be born, and for some reason it's not just yet. Maybe some more information's going to come or whatever.
It does.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can bugger you up though, because
you have to go back and
rewrite. But I say it would take me working, you know, more or less, not flat out, but at the expense of other articles, it takes 3 or 4 months, and I haven't got
3 or 4 full-time months to devote.
To devote to it. So
I just have faith it's all going to come out when the time's right. Who was your favourite teachers? Anyone, or did you just know yourself?
I didn't know
any inspirations?
I
No, I mean in your life, like.
Oh, in my life, no.
Like you said, even Gandhi's part of the setup, which he obviously is. Controlled opposition and whatever. So, anyone inspired you? I mean, you must have had someone. No, you don't have to have. Sorry.
No, I mean...
Strong sense of self comes from...
I used to like Captain Scarlet when I was...
That'll do.
Heroes-wise, no, I haven't.
Anyone you like to read, or you'd like to recommend other people to read?
I've got to say it right now. John Harmer's book, The Falsification of History, is an excellent book for anybody who doesn't know what's going on, but wants to know. Because I say it's excellent because it's easy to understand, and it deals with everything, but it doesn't bombard you with information
and facts and
exactly. Do you know, where some things can be heavy going, and I mean, I did a radio interview the other day, the other week, and the interviewer wanted to go through 6 subjects in like 2 hours, and it's not possible, you know, because
there's so many facts to get out. Yeah.
Well, John Harmer's The Falsification of History, so it deals with everything, but in small, easy to understand doses, and it takes you there slowly as well.
I read some guy's blog about you, and he said that you recommended that book to him, and he said it like ruined his life for a while.
That would, I think. Don't get me wrong. I think it's about £5 on Kindle.
Right, good.
So it's only £5. Yeah. Now, anyone who half understands that things aren't right, read that, and it'll put a lot of things
It'll really fuck your life up for a few years. But it is only a few years. I find that there is confusion and despair and depression and anger, but you do move through that into a form of empowerment in yourself.
You do, and you never look at things the same again. But I was like, I mean, if someone tells me something that goes against what I believe is correct, and they give me evidence, I'm not going to say, oh no, that's bullet.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with what there is more evidence for.
Yeah.
Do you know? People can't do this. They cannot. I can't see why people can't do this.
I know, it drives me crazy too.
Do you know? Well, we're meant to have this inbuilt mechanism that stops us.
Cognitive dissonance? Yeah, I don't know.
Mine doesn't work.
Yeah.
Do you know? It never has. I say I'm open. If someone tells me something, I mean, if I'm say I was a massive, now this is just hypothetical,
Yeah.
a massive John Lennon fan,
Yeah.
and someone told me that John Lennon was fucking kids all his life.
Yeah. It wouldn't, yeah.
I would think, no, he's not.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah,
Do
exactly.
you know?
And I change my mind sometimes. Like, I went through a stage where I went, the moon landings are real. Then I went, that's all a load of shit.
Read John
Then
Harmer's book on that,
right.
because it goes with the moon landings.
Do you know
in it.
Dave Gorman? He's funny too. He's wagging the moon doggy.
Yeah, but I
But
think,
I don't know if all his facts are correct. But he's got a lot right, and he's very funny too.
yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to
no,
read
probably,
John
I'm
Harmer.
probably thinking someone else. Yeah,
He
but
wrote a really great essay on the Boston bombings as well, and he also did something about
is
the...
he English?
No, I think it's American.
I think someone told me to speak to him.
You will laugh. You'll laugh a lot. He's funny as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on a new Boston bomb article now on the victims, or the so-called victims.
Yeah, where
I'm telling you who, you know, and I am naming names who they really are. And
Yeah,
whatnot, you know.
right. Obviously, you want as many people who are in this kind of game, married couples with
Exactly,
kids.
it helps if you've got a family.
Yeah.
Of crisis actors.
Yeah.
You know,
You're in high demand.
It keeps it in the family,
Yeah.
and you haven't got to invent.
And new people with forgetting things. And,
Exactly,
Yeah.
and this is what in the Boston bomb there was whole families taking part, which shouldn't be too much longer. I'm getting there, but the trouble is, it put all the photographs together to make a sequence. So, but you know, and they already made families, so it would make sense.
How do you feel about the idea of life after death? It's a change of direction a bit.
Yeah, I would like to believe there was. And who was I talking to the other day? I was talking to one of my readers the other day, and he had a heart attack a little while ago.
I was going to say, I hope you didn't do that.
No.
Dropped a bombshell.
I haven't got a heart. And he told me that he saw things that makes death a lot less frightening.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know? Well, I've never been there. So,
Yeah, well, you might have. You've just forgotten, like all of us.
No, I mean, I've never been like in my life. I've
experience.
never been close enough to death to have that kind of.
Well, I like the fact that your mind is open, even though...
My mind is open on everything.
Yeah.
I won't dismiss nothing until I know it's not right.
Yeah, that's great.
Do you know?
What are you afraid of? Nothing.
If I told you what I'm afraid of, then
wouldn't be-
anyone watching this
Yeah.
who wants to get at me,
Don't tell me, because you know what? Fear is just things that pass through your head, and you're right. When people watch it, then they'll go, oh, this is his...
this is his
Yeah.
weakness, exactly.
But I also think you're not afraid of that anyway, because if you were,
I'm
you
not
wouldn't
afraid.
do what
I'm
you
not
did.
afraid of dying. I'm not afraid of the elites, and I'm not afraid of anything they want to try and pin on me, or any way that they're going to get me. That they don't scare me at all. Put it that way. And I'm not scared to open my mouth with anybody who doesn't agree with me.
Yeah.
Or I'm not scared of any of that. So
That's unreal. Thanks, Chris.
that's quite a lot.
Nice to meet you. That was
Thank you very
really
much.
good.